And so first and foremost,
Or-
you're good. Thank you for taking a minute out. And I want to begin our conversation. We're getting on the 4-year anniversary of the pandemic. How did you get through it, and how did it change you?
Well, Joe, firstly, the global pandemic down here hit us like everybody, just with like no idea what was going on. And the day that it happened, that they called everyone to be back in their own state, and I was in another state in Australia doing a wedding, and my wedding guests, or the couple, were a couple from Canada that I have known for many years, and it was my wedding gift to them. And all these people had come from overseas, and they'd all sort of landed and come for this amazing wedding. And a day later, they all had to fly out. So we were all really like totally in shock, not really knowing, the outcome, what was going to happen. And I came back to my town of Sydney, and life went on for a little while, and then it all just imploded. For me, my mother was aging, and I had to leave Sydney to help look after her. So I spent the first 5 weeks looking after my mum, and there was a fair amount of freedom because it was a regional area. But as time went on, we had many lockdowns, in, out, in, out. And I think the one thing I learnt through the pandemic was how to use Zoom, and how to take my podcast that I've been recording in a radio station onto Zoom. And that was really, really interesting. And I started reaching out to people by SMS and just saying, hey, I wrote a book called Aging Fearlessly. And this was to one woman called Kathy Lett, who's a very famous author in Australia. And I read your book, How to Kill Your Husband and Other Helpful Household Hints. I think a lot of women would like to kill their husbands right now. How about an interview? Now, Kathy was married to a human rights lawyer, lives in the US, in the UK now. I thought nothing of it. 2 weeks later, she comes back to me and she says, hey, Karen, love the name Aging Fearlessly. Would love to do an interview. So I just cacked myself laughing. Anyway, we did this amazing interview together. It was one of those moments. And I had other people reaching out to me. In Australia, we have a very important day in April called Anzac Day, when we celebrate the Australian and New Zealand. So Anzac is Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. And they're landing in Gallipoli in Turkey. And there's a very famous man here who does historical work, but he takes tours to old war zones and war memorials. And one of them is Gallipoli. So he invited me onto his podcast to talk about Gallipoli, etc. So things started just to change like that. And that were probably some of the biggest aha moments, that we can live life for a period of time using other methods, but there's nothing more important than being part of a community and out there.
Yeah, I agree. So let me ask you this. I know you're a storyteller, you're a podcaster, but if I put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids, third graders at career day, and one of the kids said, hey, what do you do for a living? How do you answer that child?
I do what inspires me at the moment. And the funny thing is, Joe, I used to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And that you have to do what you love and follow your passion and your dream. If you're really good at something, then follow it. We all have a genius inside us. Grab that genius and go with the genius. If you're into art like you are, then, art and the visual arts is something that you love and probably makes you most happy. But if you can find something that makes you really happy and you enjoy it, then follow that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're very quick to put a label on kids that, oh, he's good at maths, or, and grade children according to what they're good at. But there's kids that get left behind, and we don't look often enough at what they're really good at.
Yeah.
And I've got many examples of that had many examples of that in my teaching career, which was one of my careers.
Yeah. Right. Well, so let me ask you this. What did you want to be in the third grade?
Oh, a teacher.
Okay. So let me ask you this. How did we get to this moment? Talk to me about the seeds that grew into you. What were some of the careers, some of the things as a jack of all trades? What have you done?
Um, well, I have to talk about, first of all, uh, my mental health and anxiety, because it's what caused me to leave teaching. Um, I'm 68 coming up, and in my youth and my teens and 20s, 30s, you weren't allowed to talk about anxiety. And I suffered really badly from anxiety. And I didn't want to take medication. You know, my mother said, don't tell anyone, you'll never get a job. So you just bottled it up, which makes it worse. And so I eventually left teaching, seeking out something else. And I ended up using my teaching skills um, to work in the film industry with young children who were actors. So I traveled the world, not teaching them how to act, but keeping them up with their school work. So they were on set by day, and with me whenever they weren't on set, trying to do and keep up with school. And eventually in my mid 40s, I thought 10 years of that, I've had enough. I need to get a real job. And I was starting to learn how to manage my anxiety, but I went into, I fell into work through friends in the pharmaceutical industry. And to tell you the truth, it was one of the best things I ever did, because I learned a lot about computers. I learned a lot about speaking with people, how, I guess, customer service, how to speak to someone and get what you want without raising your voice, without being angry, without being emotional. And oh my God, it was one of the best things I ever did, Joe. And I did it for 21 years. And I retired from that as soon as the pandemic was over. So in some of those years, I followed other passions. I wrote a book, I did courses. So I wrote the book Aging Fearlessly, which helped me then to launch onto radio. And my good friend Google and YouTube taught me how to podcast,
Yeah.
and that's the journey.
There we are. So who's been a hero for you?
Um, I think lots of people in my life have been heroes. A lot of people over the years, as you know, have been more interested in becoming entrepreneurs and working for themselves. And I think I've taken a little bit from a lot of them. Um, in the world of influencers, not so many. I try to stay in my own lane and look at what everybody's doing and take a little bit from the ones I really like.
So if
And
you could meet,
oh, can I say one person?
yeah,
I love, I love Nelson Mandela. Um, wow, what
yeah,
a man.
absolutely. So if you could meet one person alive on the planet right now that you find fascinating, who would it be? Who would you love to meet and talk to?
Or can it be Nelson Mandela, even though he's
Yes, it
not here?
can. Let's open the door to ghosts. Yeah, that's fine.
Why? Because the man was so humble. He wasn't angry after being locked up all those years on Robben Island. He had a goal of looking at the future and making things better. And I think in the world that we live in today, our world is so broken. We need to look at ways to make it better. We need to look at ways to get on with each other. You know,
Yeah.
you look at what's happening in Gaza, you look at what's happening in Sudan, um, all, you know, the whole Hamas, it's not a nice place at the moment. I look at what's happening in your politics over there. People are angry.
Yeah.
And Nelson Mandela was never angry.
Yep, absolutely. No, I agree. And one of his proteges I miss all the time was Barack Obama. He embodied that whole spirit of governing well and doing it for the right reasons with a kind heart. Yeah, we miss that sorely in America. America has turned into a clown show politically. It's embarrassing.
I'd love Michelle Obama to jump up and have a go.
Yeah, right. I just read her biography. It's wonderful.
Oh, I listened to it on Audible and she reads it.
Yeah, no, she's great.
I do it in car journeys.
Yeah, me
You know,
too.
Joe, I'd like to sort of say what I've been doing has been an education to me
Yeah, yeah,
because it opens my eyes to what's happening in the world. When I listen to people's stories, when I interview them, and when I listen to their stories when they come on the stage at my live events, and my first live event's coming up shortly for this year, oh my God, I am so humbled.
yeah.
But I learn, I have human rights lawyer that has spoken and done one of my podcasts about, I don't know if you know about the Uyghurs and the concentration camps in China. You know, this guy helped get this Uyghur, Saddam's family, out of China. Another friend of mine was the travel agent who, in the middle of COVID, had to find a way to get them to Australia from China.
Wow.
I didn't know who a Uyghur was,
Yeah, right.
but now I know a lot about Uyghurs.
It's fascinating. I think that's the beauty of what we've gone through with this pandemic, and even up to this point is we've put a value on mental health that we never did before. And I think podcasting has really been a way for us to therapeutically get to know each other and realize that we're much more alike than we're not. And it's you well said. It really is leveling the playing field. And I feel enlightened all the time by the amount of
Mm,
wonderful people that exist in the world that are doing things in the right way, that are trying to live honorably, that are taking care of their families, that are finding jobs and work that make sense to them, and to just have a quality of life that makes it worthwhile while we're down here for the short time we're here.
yeah. And the little people like me, Joe, because I'm not famous,
Yeah,
but we get to express ourselves, and even if it's to our own friends, we get to bring people to our friends and to the people who know of us and follow us, from people that we're meeting around the globe, like
yeah,
me meeting you today. And you know, I have friends that say, "Man, Karen, I didn't know any of that. That's amazing."
yeah,
And I said, "Well, I didn't either till I started talking to them."
yeah. Right. I know it's amazing. It really is. So let me ask you this. What is your motivation every day to wake up, to do this work, to interview, and to get the stories, to deliver it, and to be who you are, to evolve as a human?
Well, I try really hard to get up and go for a swim. My friends are now at the moment gathering down at the beach, and there'll be a 1.5 kilometre swim across the bay and back. If you look it up, Manly, and it's one of the most famous swims. It's called the Bold and the Beautiful, nothing to do with the show.
Right.
And they will be down there. And if I want a conversation in the morning, I go down there and I do a swim and I have a coffee, and I might stay down there for 2 or 3 hours
Yeah.
because I am sort of semi-retired now. This is my passion project, so that I don't have a corporate job anymore. And then I just come home and I just get stuck into it. I think, well, who am I going to talk to today? I've got 9 events coming up this year, and I'm going to show you this, but I keep little cards, and on these are, this one is 9th of April, Epic Adventures, and I have the names of the people who are speaking. There's
Yeah.
6 of them that night. And I have all 9 laid out for the year, and I go, okay, I need to look at who. And then I have people that are contacting me. I've got this great contact for a podcast, Karen. So I'm answering those emails and often going out for coffee chats, or it's easy to stay motivated
Yeah.
because it's just what I love to do.
So what would be a dream interview? Who would be the dream interview for you?
Um, oh,
Put it out there. Manifest destiny.
well, um, oh God, a dream interview. Oh, Barack Obama, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Michelle Obama, I'd love to.
Forget about it. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
they'd be on my hit list.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I would love that. I would love that. Um, So let me ask you this. Of all of the things that you've done and become and overcome and achieved in your life, what are you the proudest of?
That a person that was so broken from anxiety can build a life that they are very proud of, that they love, that I'm not broken. I'm perfectly fine. Um, and I'm just, I'm just a doer. And I love people. I love chatting. I love getting to know people.
What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Can I give you the silliest advice I've ever
I
gotten from
I would
my
I would pre-
father?
I would prefer it.
My father, once I rang him in my 20s and said, Dad, I can't cope. I'm so broken from anxiety. He said, Karen, a roof over your mouth, sorry, a roof over your head, not over your mouth, a roof over your head, food in your mouth, and the occasional nookie, there's not much wrong. Do you know what a nookie is? Yeah,
A, a nookie?
yeah,
In that like a roll in the hay or something?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was, I sometimes go, oh, Dad, what were you thinking?
Well, I mean that it's human needs. If you're finding some love in the world and you're getting your needs met, there you go. I get that. My dad was he was full-blooded Italian and he kind of came from that ilk. He just kind of boiled things down to its essentials, and I get that for sure.
But if you were to ask me more recently, it's stay in your own lane.
Yeah.
You know, you can get caught up in this, oh, but they're doing this. And oh, look at what they're doing. And then you go, no, this
Yeah.
is your lane.
Yeah. So let's say you have a dream tonight, you run into that 20-year-old version of you, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained in your life up to this point. What advice would you give that young version of you?
That what you're experiencing right now, you'll only feel for a little while. Looking forward, it won't matter. You know, just you are okay. You're perfectly okay. And everybody around you is going through exactly the same thing. They're not talking about it.
Yeah, very well said. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, all of your listeners, the guests that you get, but you ultimately run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I have my gift, and what I'm able to do is to bring things together, to bring people to the stage, to bring their stories and make them available to other people and to connect people. I think the one word a lot of people would say I am is a connector.
So if anyone wants to get your book, listen to your podcast, reach out, learn more about you, all of the good business, where do they go?
My website is www.karensander.com. So just karensander.com. And my website will take them to everywhere they need to be. My podcasts are there for them because there's two, where they're both still running. One of them is still running. It's just I'm not putting new content at the moment. And my book, they actually have to come to me at the moment. But yeah.
So I got a great Australia story for you. Before I really started traveling, I've been to Europe. I have Italian ancestry, so I've been to Italy and the UK and all over. When I was in college, I had this French teacher by the name of Pierre Renaire, and he was really a hard ass, really drove us hard. And we were getting into media. It was a high level media class. So if we walked in late, you don't get paid today. Didn't turn in an assignment, you don't, you're getting docked pay. And he treated us like we were on the job, like we were working at CNN or a major news corporation. And he was just hard, like there was no cracking. But one day I went to his office, I had to talk to him, and he had a totally different persona. He was very nice, and I remember seeing a poster for Melbourne on his wall. And I looked up and I said, I've always wanted to go to Australia. And he just gushed and he talked about going to Australia, talked about all of his travels. He was a totally different specimen. But I always remember the moment that his veneer melted away and he was a human was because we connected over Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah.
So one
And
day I want to set foot on that country. So hopefully it happens.
I would love to meet you if you are down here.
Yeah,
It'd be
absolutely.
great.
It
You
would be
will love it.
wonderful. Yeah. Oh, I have no doubt. I have marveled at on my list of countries and places that I want to go. I think Australia is high up there. New Zealand, Australia, that part of the world, but definitely getting into Australia is it. So, um,
Besides being good countries, they've got great people.
yeah, that's the thing. Absolutely. So it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you for your story. Best of luck with the book, the podcast. Keep doing the great work. It's so good to hear your story.
And so I'm so grateful you reached out to me. This has been wonderful. And what an interview. You're a great interviewer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Send my love to Australia.
I will. I'll go for a swim now. I'm up, so I will.
It's painting a great image. I love it. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Take care. Have a great day.
Cheers.